Dusty Rhodes and his family. You don't know what hard times are, Daddy. You know it. Get ready. Woo! We are doing, and we're doing it better than anybody else alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, wrestling fans, and sports entertainment fans, welcome to our favorite edition of the No Shave Man Cave. I'm Ellie Jair.
I'm Jay Tilley.
And we are being graced by the presence of, drum roll please. No, we're not going to say, let's get ready to. Nope. We are joined by none other than Georgia's own, the Tickler, Mr. Jeremy. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the No Shave Man Cave. Remember 22. How are you, sir?
I am doing good. I'm glad to be here again. Yeah, I'm not.
That Tickler's going to stick.
No, my podcast. When I start my own podcast, the Tickler will not be my name. I will not be signing on with the Georgia Tickler. I'm sorry, that's not happening.
Very well,
but it might be in all of his ACAST documents.
May or may not be.
It may or may not say hosted by the Tickler and Jay Tilley.
Yeah.
Hey, if I got stuck with Jay Tilley, I mean.
Sorry about that. No, but to everyone who's joining us here today, thank you so much to the Fantasy Sports Corp for giving us this platform. To all of our motivators that are out there and up there for getting us to put this together. Thank you so much. We are lucky to have Jeremy here with us tonight, who has some pretty good base knowledge on what we're going to talk about. And, before we get started, JT has some disclaimers before we get going. But, yeah, for sure, we're appreciative of your time, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who are on the Fantasy Sports Corp right now, don't adjust your calendars. It is on a Monday. We're not typically here live on Mondays. However, we've agreed with we've talked to them. They're cool with us doing our live show, which we typically just do on our podcast. So we're going to do it live here. The disclaimers being, none of us are licensed professionals. None of us are in any way. Don't take what we're saying as like, oh, those guys said it's okay to do blank, blank, blank. We're not professionals in any way. We all have our own experiences, things we've been through, life in general, and we kind of want to get together. If this is your first time here in our 22nd show, we just come together, kind of tell some of our stories if we feel like it. We never force anybody to talk that don't want to talk. That's what I was going to say. That does not want to talk. And this, if you're used to our lighthearted cutting up about wrestling, this is not always that way. We do try to keep it a little lighthearted. We'll make jokes about the Tickler or those kind of things, but it can get pretty deep. So there are some sensitive subjects. So if you're triggered by suicide talks or anything like that, just a heads up that we could go down those road and we could talk about some of that. Matter of fact, one of the things I have to share this time, it's weird. I always tend to start these, but we do it on the 22nd because on average, 22 veterans commit suicide daily. And I've always thought, man, that's a crazy statistic. Well, I had lunch with a fellow vet this weekend, and come to find out somebody in his unit committed suicide last weekend. And I'm just like, holy cow, man. Like, I knew it happened when I was on because, I when one of the jobs I had, I took those reports and I had to do the reports. And sometimes I was the first contact for some of these people and would have to, let our commanders know and our security forces know. So I knew it happened a lot. I knew it happened overseas a lot, especially, in theater sometimes. But this guy or girl, I didn't get much information. I didn't want to pry too much, but was a drill status, so 1 week in a month warrior, came out to do their business. I guess got some not so good news while they were on the base, went back to their hotel room and decided that was enough. They weren't going to take it anymore. So it just goes to show that it's not just retired veterans that are doing it. It is active duty or drill starters or reserves or whatever the case is. So it's something we take very seriously. We talk about it because no matter who you are, you're loved. We all go through stuff. We've all been through stuff. And hearing that it happened just so recently to someone that, you know, I know personally his, you know, someone in his unit. So it happens. And we just want to make sure that this is a platform. We talk about it at the end of the show. We'll probably recap it again. But if you have any kind of distress, 988. If you're in crisis, 988, they'll help you. Even if you're not in crisis, 988 is a good number if you just need some support. Again, we're not professionals, but they can deal with those things. They'll be able to talk you through whatever's going on. But it just goes to show that it happens, and it happens a lot. 22 a day is the average. So, you know, this is near and dear to our heart. We love wrestling, and we love our vets, and we think everybody should deserve, and everybody's loved, needs to be watching wrestling. So,
Yeah.
but no, I just, you know, the three of us on this camera right now have all been through stuff. Hell, as much as like this week with some stuff going on. So just keep that in mind. If you're listening, if you're seeing this, if you want to reach out to us just to kind of, hey, thanks for talking, or hey, can I come on your show? I want to talk. Hit us up on our socials, No Shave Man Cave. With that, I'll kind of give it over to Jeremy. He's kind of our on-site expert, I want to say. He does a lot of peer counseling and working in the field. For those that don't know from previous, he is a suicide survivor attempt. So, you know, so if you want to hear that story, you can go back into our podcast and listen to it. I'm not gonna have him rehash it, but it's kind of a continuation, having him on and talking through some of the coping mechanisms and things that he has seen in his job, and we kind of come on here and talk about, you know, our things too. So that's my spiel. I'll let you go, Jer.
All right. Yeah, thank you. And like Jay said, we're not professionals. I'm not licensed. I like to say I don't have the alphabet soup after my name. I do work in the field, mostly in social services, but I do work with people with mental illness and substance abuse problems. I have faced suicide both personally and professionally. I have lost clients. I've lost people I know. And I've fought an uphill battle against mental illness my whole life. So anything I share is from my own personal experiences. I try not to share other people's stories because that's their story. Like Jay just did, I may give you a brief overview of something I've experienced, but ultimately someone's story is their own and they should tell it. This has been an interesting week for me, or past couple weeks for me. So, yeah, I've been struggling with some depression lately. Trying to stay motivated, stay positive, not let the negative self-talk invade my thinking. And it's a daily chore. I'm pushing hard on self-care. I talk to my therapist every week, and it's always a battle. So if you are struggling, know that you're not alone, that there are countless people around the world right now struggling just like you. Their story may not be the same, but they may have some things in common with you, and you'll never know if you don't reach out. So please reach out for help. 988, like Jay said. Go online, look at your local community. There's an organization called NAMI. They're a great resource. They're throughout the U.S. I don't know if they're global or not, but they're a wonderful resource for getting you connected with help. But yeah, so I don't necessarily have a theme or specific thing to talk about this week. But I would say one of the things that I've been struggling with is grief. Grief's been hitting me hard the last couple of weeks.
I feel you there, big time.
Yeah. Jason and I lost a very good friend, and if you go back to some of the very first one of these, January 22nd, when we did this, you'll hear us talk about him a lot. Not to suicide, thank God, but we did lose him recently, and he's our age. He was 45 years old and gone like that, and struggling with that grief has been hard. And then on top of that, I lost my dad just a little over 2 years ago to COVID. And that's been on my mind a lot lately too. I found myself just talking to the two of them while I'm driving, because I do a lot of driving for my job. Lot of driving. So I found myself just when I'm in the car and just found myself having conversations with them and just wishing I could hear what they have to say, what they think, what they feel. I could really use our buddy Rob's input right now as I'm trying to prepare for a wedding. And
yeah, those are always fun.
I'm sure he would have had something fun to tell me. He always had a good story.
Yep.
And I wish I had my dad for advice. And so struggling with grief is like an ongoing thing. It's never something that just goes away. And when you're dealing with mental illness, whether you are dealing with mental illness or not, there are so many different stages of grief. And grief itself can cause depression. So I want to hear and I do want to also say that grief isn't always loss of someone you love. It isn't always a death. A loss of a relationship can be a cause for grief. A friendship that ends, a romantic relationship that ends, a parent that leaves. Lord knows I see that at work. So many people that had a parent walk out on them when they were young, and they're living with that trauma now, and they can barely function. They don't know how to deal with certain things because they never had that parent in their life. So,
yeah, grief's crazy, man, because it'll hit you whenever too. It's one of those things that like you think, oh, I'm good, I'm in a good place, and like you said, your dad was 2 years ago, and it's smacking you this week. And it's ironic that like last week I was having a real issue with Rob. I was like, man, like I miss that dude right now. And it's been what, 6 months? And I still, and it's, so I've also started recently seeing a counselor, started very recently. And, one of the things we've talked about is trauma too, and how his passing was a trauma in my life, which I didn't think about it that way, but there's like survivor's guilt involved in it because like, I'm like, man, I should have seen it coming. I should have known he was sick or whatever. So it's really hard hitting to hear you say that. Cause like, I feel you, I'm going through it too. And it's just like, man, like you just never know when it's going to hit you. It's crazy. And the physiological effects it has on you, the depression, the not being able to sleep at night because you're thinking about it, or, not being able to be there to support your other friends or whatever they're going through, your family. It's one of those things that grief's a killer, man. It's a bitch for sure.
Yeah, imagine you had said something. JT had said something. I think it was today. I think it was today, where in a lot of friend groups, every friend group plays a role that's significant. And, if it's a triad, so there's 3 of you, dyad, there's 2, whatever.
He's getting fancy with the terms.
Yeah. Hey, I had to Google the triad one. I thought it was a finishing move, but JT checked in on me not that long ago, and it was extremely timely. And, we were talking about seeing counselors and stuff. And I look forward to when I'm going to see mine. Like, okay, I've been dealing with a lot of stuff. I am drinking a lot. I'm not drinking a lot. I am sleeping. I'm not sleeping. And then you talk about like some of the physiological stuff. Like I used to feel it coming, and I would look around, make sure I was sort of in a safe place. And it was like this overwhelming desire to cry. And there was no rhyme or reason. It could have been a Kleenex commercial. It could be, something on the screen. And I'm, not exactly like, there were certain TV shows that I don't know if it was like the background music or the setting or what was going on.
Dora the Explorer.
Yes. I would just be like, all right, I gotta get up. I must be allergic to something in the room.
Somebody's cutting onions.
Yeah. I would go just let it rip. And I don't know if it was from burnout, from depression, anxiety, a combination of everything, but feeling that subside has given me like clarity in life, like when I look at things, or the way I look at things, mostly probably, and being more open and engaging with, with my coworkers or my friends, or people that I come in contact with, not every day, but frequently. So it's one of those things that yeah, man, you just, you don't know when it's going to hit you. You don't know why. Obviously, Jeremy is getting ready to have a huge win for the home team with, marrying, the love of his life, and, add another leg to your table to add it, add stability. And that's super exciting. But at the same time, you're like, okay, I got all this stuff to deal with. And, normally I bend this person's ear or that person's ear or whatever. Now I got to Google it. And I don't even know Jeeves. So I got to go ask him. And it's just hard to, really. But I look forward to when I get to talk to my counselor. And although this is a touchy subject and unfortunate show that we do, I really, really look forward to being here. And to all our brothers and sisters in arms, I am over the moon with your dedication to this country and this all volunteer force. And some gave all gave some. And to your friends and family, they're serving too. They're right there, shoulder to shoulder with you. My wife was with me and is still with me for 28 years, 17 moves, 13 deployments, 2 children, and a sweet ass retirement. So we're doing it big, and it's if you're dealing with something, it seems like a huge thing right now, and it's this boulder that we used to call it hauling shit up a mountain, and you think, I can't take one more step, but you can do it. You might not be able to do it alone. So please don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. Find a tag team partner. Jump into a stable. Find a cool name. JT and I, we're rocking these Mission 22 t-shirts, which is an organization that helps communities, helps veterans, and helps their families. And a little bit of this t-shirt goes back to the community. Thank you to Mission 22 for this. And they threw a bunch of stickers in as well. So there's help out there. Please don't think you have to go it alone. Just like what Jeremy was saying with the 988, like what JT was saying, if you're a veteran or if you're in uniform, go check in with your first sergeant, your sergeant major, your senior enlisted advisor. Go, swing on over to medical, go to the chaplain, do something. If you're a veteran and you have that My Healthy Vet app, there's a little red banner on it. Hit that red banner. You are instantly connected to someone who can help you. So plenty of help out there. And if you're not a veteran, the NAMI, looking that up, the National Association for support for mental health, that's really freaking cool. So I was just looking that up while you were talking. So great resource. Definitely take advantage of it.
I thought he said the mommy at first, and I thought Rita Ripley. I'm like, whoa,
NAMI.
directed.
National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Yeah.
They're a nationwide agency. They were how I first really found out about the peer movement and the fact that there's support out there that doesn't necessarily have to come from professionals. It can just come from a community of people supporting each other. Not to say that they don't have professionals that volunteer with them, but they have a collection of resources that is invaluable. They have local agencies. They have something at your state level. They have something at most likely they have something either in your county or district or whatever it's called where you live. It's there's usually something that goes down to like almost right down the street from you, and
Wow.
they have like weekly meetings where you can get together, and there's different types. There's the family, they have family meetings, they have ones for people to come in and get peer support, they have um, all different kinds of things, and educational opportunities. They do a mental health first aid program that's really good. It's just a wonderful agency. I encourage anyone to just go on to NAMI.org and take a look at them and look at the different options they have, and try to find their local NAMI chapter. And you know, even if you don't go, just knowing that that's there, knowing that the support is there is helpful. So
Well,
I
and
do encourage people.
I think knowing that it's there is a good thing, because you might not go, but what if you know somebody who could use it, and having that knowledge that, hey, I know where you can go to get some help, because not everybody's always comfortable talking to their friends, and you can kind of, especially if you're good friends, you kind of can get a feel of like how people are feeling. So it might be one of those like, hey man, you should check this out, because they might not want to open to you, so it might be something worth passing along. So it's always good to have those resources in your back pocket. So
That's cool.
interesting about the show this week. It's been a rough show for all three of us for different personal reasons going into this one. And like Ellie Jared said, like, I was really looking forward to this one, because I'm like, I kind of can get on here and vent a little. It's almost like it's not really happening because it's like out on YouTube, which is worse because everybody can see it. But I'm able to kind of get out more and say more than I usually do, sitting around the house or whatever, even talking at work or on the phone with you guys. So it's just interesting how this has kind of become an outlet for me too, which when we started them, I was like, man, I'm good. I don't need this. Like, I'm really healthy. And then like we talked about last episode, I went into the VA and I'm like, all right, maybe I should answer these questions honestly. Well, that's when I found out, like, oh shit, like I do suffer from depression. All right. Well, yeah, I have big time anxiety problems. Yeah. I've suffered some, trauma, definitely one recently, and probably a lot more that I haven't uncovered yet. So even if you think you're the strong one, might help to just talk to somebody. And when the doc asks, answer those questions truthfully.
Yeah. What like whenever you guys start feeling, like for me, something that Tiffany, she's a counselor, something that she really helped me with. I had this repetitive behavior where I was absolutely obsessed about, and not in a good way, about someone. And it was just, I was always so concerned with what was going on, to the point where I had upgraded. This person was living for free in the old Cabeza. I upgraded the internet package. The refrigerator was full, and recently served eviction notice. And I have freed up so much time and energy. And, Tiffany was just like, hey, you need to replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts. So I talked to her and I said, hey, I have an idea of what I would, replace that negative thought with. And she was like, don't be nasty. And I was like, what are you talking about? Well, that was on an episode of the No Shave Man Cave. And little did I know that they make these little stress balls made out of a comment that I had made. I don't know if you can see this. The light is kind of bright.
Yep.
But it looks like
it's a booby.
It looks like a booby.
Figured.
So, so this is one of my positive thought replacements. But I'll go to my mind will go to a wrestling event, or a success that one of my sons has had, or something big that Tiffany has done. And so that's my personal coping mechanism. What do you guys use or find that helps you kind of get out of your gerbil wheel, with the lack of better terms?
So mine is kind of, and it's ironic you mentioned this, because there could be a podcast coming out about this soon, but mine's jumping into video games. Like, I can just sit up here and throw on Call of Duty. And I say that because it's the one that's easiest for me to just zone out and play, or like any game. But that's kind of like where I'm like, all right, like I've had a really bad day. Like, I need to unwind, but I can pop on a video game. As far as in the moment, like ever since you told me to think about something positive thing, I've been using that a lot. Like, you know, even at work with some of the stuff I just went through, it's like, all right, this sucks. This sucks. Okay. But what doesn't suck is our podcast and our ideas for, you know, starting the woodworking stuff we want to do, like all the things we want to do. I'm like, all right, I'm going to replace this negative feelings and this bad stuff I have in my head with, all right, yeah, I may have got a demotion in quotation marks at work. However, I'm getting paid more money, so that's a good thing. Or, hey, golly, I feel like a failure. But we've got 37,000 downloads on our podcast that it's two dudes chatting about, you know, so things like that kind of is what's keeping me, even at work. Like I'll bring up, like, you know, I'll be sitting there and be like, all right, hey, Jared, how about so-and-so being hurt? You know, I'll just turn to talk about wrestling. And I know he gets annoyed now that we work together too, because it's like, Jason, I'm really trying to work right here. Yeah, I know, but what if we could make these cool tables? Or what if we could make a lamp that did this? And then you see him go, oh, that's a good idea. Let me Google it. Next thing you know, we spent 20 to 30 minutes at work Googling different ways to make lamps and tables and chairs. And we're going, man, we can maybe make a profit from this. But yeah, that's what I do. Is it same thing, right? And then a fun note on the Jeremy, appreciate this. I did not buy the booby for him. Amy listened to the episode and ordered that on her own as a joke and sent it to him. So
Oh my
I
God,
did not do
that's
that.
too funny. Her of all people.
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my God, that's great.
Yep.
I love it. Way to go, Amy.
Good woman. Hang on to that one. What about you, Jerry? What helps you kind of get over the hump?
Yeah, so coping skills, I got a whole encyclopedia of them. But yeah, the gaming thing is big. So big, we are talking about starting a podcast focused on using gaming as a coping skill. And we'll be talking about gaming of all varieties, video games, tabletop gaming. I'm in a weekly D&D session. Board games, card games, you name it, and other things dealing with geek culture, comic books, movies, TV shows, what have you. But I always want to, when we do this podcast, I want to keep in mind that it is about mental health. And one of the things I've thought about is that what games have helped me when I needed them the most. And there are certain games that I've turned to, like Jason, Call of Duty. For a while, that was my go-to, especially when I was feeling irritable or angry about something, because you get on and shoot people. That is not an endorsement to shoot people, please. I have in no way saying
Call of Duty
that.
it is.
Call of Duty it is. If you play a video game, that's okay. If you have thoughts of actually shooting people, please seek help.
988.
Yeah, or 911.
Turn in your weapon.
Yeah, please. But yeah, video games is a big one. I love a good role-playing game where I can immerse myself into a character and into a story and just kind of lose myself. And the one thing about that there's a caveat to using video games is that, or any, honestly, coping skills, is that you can't hide from your own brain.
Right.
So a temporary relief is one thing, but you can't immerse yourself so much that you think you can escape your mind. If you are having a hard time, it doesn't go away just because you distracted yourself for an hour or two. So I've always tried to have some coping skills that I can use to help me deal with it without escaping. I do a lot of deep breathing. I've been doing breathing exercises for years. Mindfulness is something that I'm intermittently working on. I pay annually for an app that I barely use. It just has become another subscription that I pay for, which is not cool. So I'm trying to work on mindfulness, being more aware of my surroundings, of myself, of my feelings, of my thoughts, of my, and breathing is a big part of that, but there's more to it. And music has always been a huge coping skill for me. I'm a little weird with music though, because a lot of people will put on, go ahead.
I'll say he's big into jazz It's Jeremy and country. Those are his two big music go-tos.
Go.
No, that was my that was my dad. No, I'm a little odd when it comes to music and using it for coping, because a lot of people will put on happy music when they're not feeling so great to help bring them up. I tend to put on music that matches my current mood. It helps me get through it faster. So if I'm feeling angry, heavy metal is my go-to. Heavy metal is my go-to when I'm calm. So, and I accept the fact that that's a little weird. But like I will specifically pick out, and I'm a rock guy through and through, but I'll specifically pick out a song if I'm feeling sad. That's sad. It helps me get through that emotion, and that's how I cope. But that isn't necessarily going to be the best thing for anybody. But I think we all have turned to music at some point in our life. But music's always been a constant for me, a way for me to cope with difficult times.
Yeah. When you say mindfulness, what without Googling it, how would you explain it to someone? Like, what does that mean exactly?
I had just opened a tab.
Hold on, he's got to Google it.
I was going to Google it. So mindfulness to me is, it's being self-aware. It's being able to focus on the moment. Because in a single moment, there isn't tomorrow, there isn't yesterday, there's just that moment. So you can focus and pour your entire consciousness into that single moment. And it's a combination of breathing. It's a combination of thought exercises. One of the hardest parts of mindfulness that I struggle with constantly, because my ADHD brain is just not wired for it, is the focusing part. Because what they teach you is to focus on your breathing to start. Eventually you want to reach like a Zen-like state where you can actually blank your mind. Just go blank. No thoughts, no nothing, no distractions. That's almost impossible for me. And that's why I say intermittently. It's one of those things that only really works if you do it consistently. But to start mindfulness, it's just a matter of breathing. You do deep breathing. So you breathe in. I used to do, I think it was I forget which. I've done different ones. You can do like a 4 count. So breathe in for 4, hold for 2, exhale for 4, hold for 2, inhale for 4, and repeat. And give yourself at least a good 5 to 10 breaths like that.
So what I'm hearing is 2, you kick out. 4, you break the hold. That's how I'm going to remember it.
Okay.
This is how
that
wrestling works. And mental health
they go together.
Are connected. Tag me in, boss. Me in.
When you're doing those breathing exercises, your mind will start to wander. You'll start thinking about what's going on. You'll hear a noise, it'll distract you. You'll think about what's going on at work. You'll think about what's going on at home, and your brain will start to go that direction. So what you do is you just gently pull it back to the breathing.
Like you said.
Like you're pulling, like you're holding the trunks, trying to get a cheap pin.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I like
you went
that.
to wrestling. I made that's what she said joke. So there's where both our minds went.
Yeah. I like the the distraction part. If you're in a rut, you're trying to, get into a better mood or better state of mind. I live vicariously through my sons or Tiffany. And I used to come home and just rant for like 30 minutes. And now I get to listen to how Tiffany's day has gone, or how Coden and Rylan, how they're doing. Coden just bought a house, so hearing about that. And Rylan, he's getting ready to head off to college, so hearing about that. Super excited to, be in on the, buy low, sell high element of their lives. And it's so freaking cool. And, on top of, replacing negative thoughts, that's kind of how I, get through the, the mood, I guess, the lack of better terms. But so for JT and Jeremy, so when you're playing video games, are you playing by yourself, or are you in a room? Do you feel the engaging with other people helps, or if you're just like, hey, I'm just here to mow people down, I don't have time to talk?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
a
usually
complicated
soloing it.
question.
Yeah. For me,
Because go ahead.
yeah, for me, like usually if it's Call of Duty up here, it's solo time. I'm got my door closed, the man cave's lights on, do not disturb, and I got the TV spun up and I'm playing. But I've been on the opposite side, like I'm sure Jeremy was about to say, is like D&D and all that. You want people there, and it's more engaging. Um, and I think the escapism is a big thing, which I was going to bring it back in around wrestling too, because you mentioned that about games, how you get invested in these fantasy characters and you kind of live vicariously through them, and it's an escape. But that's wrestling too, right? So we talk about wrestling a lot, and that's the biggest thing I think. Like looking back on it is a big thing for me too, is being able to go, man, I'm like really invested on whether Cody Rhodes is going to win the title. So I'm living kind of vicariously through him. Or I didn't want to use an AEW reference because I know you can't watch it, Jeremy. But those kind of. But like AEW is another thing. Like I watch and I'm like, oh my god, like how did they betray Kenny Omega? Like what's he gonna do? And all that living through that fantasy is part of wrestling. So I think as much as I've just always like, oh, I just love wrestling, it's probably always been one of my escapes and one of my coping skills since I was little, when my dad passed when I was really small. Because if I look back, that's about when I started discovering wrestling and getting into wrestling. And that was the thing that, when I would have sometimes those sad days, it'd be like, well, wrestling's on tonight, so I'll watch that, or today. So it's just when you said that, it sparked that memory with me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I would look forward to, when I would get the Pro Wrestling Illustrated or the wrestling magazine. When I was a little bit younger, where my mom worked, she worked at a facility that supported adults that weren't able to live on their own. And I would go and visit her, and I would just kind of hang out. And, there were some guys and girls there that liked wrestling, and to the point where I would bring my magazines with me and we would sit and talk. And I was just a 9-10-year-old kid, and these were adults that couldn't live on their own for different reasons. And it was just, that suspended belief, that able to kind of shut your mind off of, everything, the 360. And I could just live in that 1 degree and enjoy, kind of enjoy myself. And, my parents got divorced when I was young, and I was the youngest of the children. So my sister and I, we were sort of, we were, kind of off doing our own thing. And, I always had wrestling. She enjoyed it, not quite to the same level that I did. But yeah, even when the match ends kind of wonky, and I still can't believe Cody didn't win the title.
He should have won that title.
I don't feel like wrestling lets me down. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, yeah, you really swerved me. I should have seen that coming. Now I'm going to, like how JT Hill fantasy book for the rest of the year. And he might be right 9 out of 10 times. And that one time kind of, sharpens the skills. Okay, I'm going to pay attention to this, that, and the other a little bit differently. And, just watching the storylines develop. It's like, some of the soap operas or stories that our families used to watch. Who shot JR? I got to find out. And yeah, man, I just dig it. I think, some people use exercise, which I think that's awesome. Some people use a diet, or they're really into thrills. But yeah, I really enjoy a good grind session. I was feeling a certain kind of way this weekend, and I watched about an hour and a half of Vikingo matches just to kind of get away and know that I'm gonna tackle what I'm dealing with tomorrow. But yeah, I dig it. So your mindfulness and the music, exercise, diet. I think that's freaking cool. So, hey, quick shout out to Angela. She's on Howdy Girl. How are you? Hope you're doing good. Fantasy Sports Corp just chimed in. How's it going,
was me.
guys? Thank
Yeah.
you.
That was me
So,
responding.
oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. So I'm watching the board. Pretty cool.
Yep. So, you didn't really get to answer, Jeremy, like solo or together. How do you like to pleasure yourself? I mean, play video games.
Don't make it weird.
Hey, I got to throw some humor in
But
here. 'cause
seriously, just tell me.
seriously, send a video. No, I mean, no. You know, we got to make it light because this is a heavy subject. So,
So for me, it depends on my mood. We'll talk about this a bit on my podcast, but our podcast. The social aspect, because with gaming these days, it's some of it is online. The social aspect of it actually can intimidate me and cause me a lot of anxiety. So
me too.
I don't like if I do play with people, and the mic's not on, the headset's not on. I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm just, yeah. And usually the only time I play with people is when it's a first person shooter. So I'll go into a lobby and it'll form a party. We go in and we shoot stuff together. And then when we're done with whatever we're doing, I go on and play with other people. Actually, like going on and playing with like friends and stuff with Jay and I used to do that actually way back
When we had time.
Yeah. We would play Call of Duty together and stuff like that. I'm hoping to get to play some Diablo 4 with him next month.
Hell
when
yes.
that comes out.
By the way, Jared, I'm gonna have to take off a week. June 1st. Oh wait, I'll be in the academy. Never mind. I'll play from the house.
Just pass academy, goddammit.
I will. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, it's cool. So I mean, I guess it really depends on my mood. Playing with strangers is I have some aspects of my anxiety that are social anxiety kind of triggers, and playing online with strangers is intimidating to me, so I don't do that as much. But as far as like once upon a time, yeah, I would play games with my kids and stuff. They live with their mother in North Carolina now, so I don't really get to see them. But so mostly it's by myself usually. The fiance is not into gaming at all. She will play Mario Kart on a rare once in a while, and that's about as much into gaming as she gets. Yeah. She's not even into the board games. I keep trying to get her interested in the more the geekier board games, and nope.
Yeah, you mentioned playing with playing with strangers or playing with your friends and stuff. My oldest son is really into a couple of games, and he has made friends that he has kept since like 2010. And one of his buddies he keeps in touch with. There was a point where they lived like an hour away, and Coden was like, "Yep, I'm making plans. I'm gonna go see my buddy." And he just messages him sort of out of the blue, like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm moving to the middle of America." And he was just like, "Dude, I was getting ready to come see you." And then that's how he's kept in touch with some of his buddies when just us being stationed all over the place. That's how he's kept in touch with a lot of his friends that he made when we were stationed in North Carolina. So I think that's it's both good and bad. Like, if you're playing with strangers, you have a certain element of, no, I'm good. I'll just do, I'm just going to do me. Or, if you have a clique that you get together with and, you run home from school or work or, skirt some responsibility to play for a couple hours. I think that's a really cool, kind of a getaway almost where you can just have some mindless fun and enjoy yourself. So that's pretty cool. I don't game. I like sports games, but not necessarily any of the other ones. So I think hearing you guys talk about it, I think that's pretty cool. My brother-in-law, Ken, he has a Warhammer table that is next freaking level. And It's beautiful. Him and his family members made it, and it's fantastic. So the love and dedication that some of the players put into their craft, next level. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's funny because I've been sitting there thinking and we're talking and I'm like, I really think that my gaming, I like to do alone. Cause there's been times where like, I'll see some of my other buddies online and I'm like, I'm going to say I'm offline just so I can play without anybody else.
Yeah.
Cause I think sometimes I do just need that alone time. I need to not have anybody to like, hey, I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to do anything. And yes, technically I guess I'm grouped with people because I'm Call of Duty and there's, 60 people on if you're playing a, ground war or something. And same thing with what Jeremy said. I got it muted. I don't listen. I just do my own thing. And, maybe I'll rage at somebody because they're stupid, but I don't usually put a mic on or anything. It's just on the TV.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting that, and something that Jeremy said earlier, I just wanted to touch on again too. You had said something about like, hey, it's weird that you cope certain ways. I just want to make it clear, like, I don't think it's weird how anybody copes. Like, everybody's different. So, and this is for anybody listening, anybody who's going to listen in the future, whatever your coping mechanism is, as long as it's not unhealthy to you or the people around you, do it. Like, if you think it's weird and you don't cope because you think it's weird, man, don't think of it that way. Like, cope the way you want to cope with things and help yourself the way you want to help yourself. If, like I said, as long as you're not harming or hurting or doing something illegal or unhealthy for other people around you or yourself, I don't think there's anything weird about however anybody wants to take care of their mental health and cope with it.
Right.
This is true.
If your thing's drinking pickle juice when you're stressed out, go ahead and do it. Like, whatever.
Rob.
That was a Rob thing, wasn't it?
It was.
That's funny that popped into my mind. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. When he lived with me, he would.
Oh my God, I remember that now. Yes.
He would get the jar of pickles and he would drink all the pickle juice and leave the pickles in the jar to dry out.
Yeah,
I'm
Amy
like,
used to get so pissed at going to get pickles and there'd be no pickle juice in it. Yep.
Oh, I need a minute.
I remember that.
I actually asked Angela about that recently, and she said he still did that when they were living together. She would go into the fridge to get a pickle, and it was just dry because he drank all the pickle juice.
Wow.
I asked him once about it, not earlier last year actually, and he said this, do you know the nutritional values of pickle juice? I was like, you don't do it for nutritional value. You're addicted to pickle juice. You're addicted to pickle juice.
Yeah,
that's your fetish, dude. Come on.
Well, and it's like, he once told me that, I learned to do it when I was driving for the trucks. And I'm like, no, you didn't, because you did it when you lived with me in my house. And this is when you were working at KFC. I'm like, so don't tell me you just started doing it for truck driving.
He did it with me. We were in our 20s, long before he even thought he would ever become a truck driver. Yeah, it was an addiction. It was a bizarre addiction he developed to pickle juice.
Hey, a lot of people like it though. Like, he's not the only one. They have pickle flavored bourbons out now.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's pickle flavor alcohol out there. I saw pickle flavored vodka recently.
Yep, I saw a bourbon the other day at the local store up in the corner.
I could do a pickle flavored bourbon, but I might be able to do a pickle flavored.
I could maybe do the vodka because you could make a Bloody Mary or something. But I was
just thinking. In fact, I was thinking that when I saw it on a TikTok, I was like, that would make a really good Bloody Mary.
Yeah. So so talking, we've gotten to our coping skills. We've talked about like things that we want to do or don't want to do, whether we go to a community or we're going to be doing just playing by yourself.
Don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird. Shake it more than 3 times. You're playing with it. Do you feel that it's cyclic, whether it's the seasons or the time of year or a significant event or, we come up on anniversaries that we celebrate. I'm about to celebrate my 30th freaking wedding anniversary. Do you think, personally, do you feel that as you get closer to the holidays or closer to X date that you start feeling and thinking a little bit harder about the negatives or, whatever?
Yes, and I do want to point out that the seasonal depression is a real thing. It's an actual disorder that you get diagnosed with, and there are people, the mood that actually flows with the seasons. But I think for a lot of people, holidays can be hard. Very dark statistic is that around between the days between Christmas and New Year's are the highest suicide. It's the highest time frame for suicides in the country. I believe globally, but definitely in the U.S.
Yeah, I used to hate working Christmas that time frame because I can attest to that. Like we would go all year with no suicide calls. Christmas Day hit, and I'd get 3 or 4 a day from then to like I can attest to that on the military side for sure, definitely.
Yeah. And in my field, we always, and it's hard because we're funded. Well, not my current job, but in previous jobs, we were funded by the state. So when the state shuts down, we don't get paid. We shut down. So we're closed for like 3 or 4 days around Christmas and like 2 or 3 days around New Year's. And these are time frames when these people are very likely to go into crisis.
Yeah. It's
and
when you're most needed. You're most needed and you're not available. Yeah.
My very first job in this field, I worked for a community treatment for some of the worst, like the most difficult population to work with, the most challenging illnesses, really severe. And we manned a crisis line. And I want to say I actually was on the crisis line for Christmas. I was so scared because like somebody's going to call me and they're going to be ready to end it. And thankfully that never happened. Just got a drunk guy calling me. Yeah.
I'll call you back a little bit later. Got to get a couple drinks.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
But that time frame is really hard for people. A lot of people have a lot of trauma that is around the holidays. They maybe experience loss around that time frame. I know at times it can be difficult for me because I don't have a great relationship with my sons. They live with their mother and we don't really speak much, and makes the holidays very tough for me because that's when I really want to be able to see them and talk to them, and I can't. And it's a real big challenge for me. And it's always a challenge when I'm in my work, when I'm working with clients, and like, I always make sure they have crisis hotlines and, contact phone numbers for family supports and things like that. 'Cause it is definitely very difficult. And then there's the seasonal aspect of it. When you get into the colder months, it's darker, longer. People tend to feel more feelings of depression when the sun's not out much. And it's a real thing. It's a scary thing.
Yeah. You take a soldier, sailor, Marine, airman from hometown USA. They enlist. I enlisted from Arizona, moved to California, didn't see my family a whole lot. And that's relatively close because you could end up in Japan, you could end up in Italy, you could end up on the other side of the country or, whatever. So now you have that separation anxiety on top of all that. So definitely if you're, dealing with any of that, find a network of people that are same-minded, like-minded people. If, for me, JT and I, we gravitated toward each other for various reasons.
Was
we
that a
look
fat
similar. No,
Oh.
We look similar. We like the same things. And we just hit it off. And, whether it's you're going to the gym on base or you're new in a city and you like Fords, go find a car club, go find, something to just connect yourself in another way And my wife is a Jeeple. She's a Jeep Jeeple, and they wave at each other. They do different things. If they duck each other, yeah, my wife's got ducks all over the Are you ducking me?
Yeah.
And so there's different ways to connect. There's different ways to deal with things. Like JT said, is whatever your coping mechanism is, don't put your own self at risk. Don't put others at risk. Don't put the community at risk. Just make yourself feel a little bit better. If it's going to get a pedicure, going to get if you like to run, if you're here in Florida, watch out for the alligators, but you can get out. There's great water where, you see the kayakers and the boaters and all that stuff. So, yeah, man.
I'm starting to feel a little attacked here because I talked to Jared today about trying to exercise more, and he sure has brought up exercising a lot this show. So
no, this is just it's just a convenient topic. I need to work out more than you do. You're at least starting. I haven't even started yet.
10 pounds. So, but I agree. Like, and the reason we do this show is because we want to make sure people know that they're not alone. Just to point out that the demographics here, other than the fact that we're just 3 white dudes, which whatever, but Jared was an officer in the Marine Corps. I was a non-commissioned officer in the Air Force, and Jeremy's a civilian. So there's 3 spectrums of that kind of life where it affects us all, right? It's not just, oh, it's only the airmen that suffer it, or it's only the grunts, or it's only the infantry. It's everybody. I did not go and see a lot of stuff overseas, but I did have my own traumas working in the States, hurricane recoveries, those kind of things. Whereas, other people have gone over and seen some horrific tragedy things over there. And it's everybody has their own story, like you said, and it's up to them to tell it. Just know that you're not alone. There are people out there, all walks of life. We have a friend who also suffers from stuff, who is not just a white dude with a beard, so it's everybody, and it affects everybody. Yeah. So just know that, like we said at the beginning, if you're in any kind of crisis, 988, call them up. And then there are several resources out there to help and get you, help. Just talk to friends and family. Even that can be a resource that people overlook. Find that friend that you're okay going, hey, you got a minute to talk? I got to get something off my chest. And, or that family member, just, hey, honey, I'm having a hard day. Can we talk? Or can you just listen? Not even talk. Can you just listen to me? Even if you're pretending to listen, just let me vent a little bit and get it off my chest.
Yeah.
So definitely things out there. And we're getting ready to wrap this one up. So I want to make sure we touch back on that subject and the fact that there are things out there to get. We appreciate every one of you listening, going to listen in the future. If you like this kind of stuff, we do it every 22nd. As we see it growing, I've kind of talked to Jared a little bit about it. We may increase it, not just be the 22nd, maybe the 11th and the 22nd. I don't know. We'll discuss that, but it's a coping skill for me personally, and I do enjoy coming on here and talking about it. So before I do our standard outro, Jeremy, do you have anything you want to say or plug or give out your information if people want to follow you or talk to you?
Not yet, but there will be stuff to plug with the podcast. It's going to be called Roll for Recovery. Hopefully going live, or not live, not quite ready, not quite to the point you guys are at.
Hey, we're doing live right now. Surprise.
True. We'll hopefully start recording in June sometime, get the first episode out around mid-June, and go from there. Resource wise, again, 988, call if you need help. You can call, text, or you can go online to, I always forget what it is. It's 988 Lifeline, I think. I always forget the actual website.
Really loud keyboard.
Yeah, it's a mechanical keyboard.
Jackhammer keyboard.
988lifeline.org. You can start a chat on there as well. Again, NAMI.org, great resource for finding some place to meet with like-minded individuals in your community. And another thing I want to mention is social media can be a very toxic place for people with mental illness. There is a social network site that's specifically designed for people with a variety of illnesses, mostly unseen illnesses, which includes mental health. It's called themighty.com. I've been published a couple times in the past on there for some articles that I've written.
Oh yeah, that's cool, man. Congrats. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It was a while ago, but yeah, I did get published.
It still happened. That's cool.
I encourage people to go check that out as an alternative to Facebook or Twitter or any of the toxic type stuff where you're not going to get 100% support. You're going to get some support, and then you're going to get a lot of negativity because
Mostly negativity.
That's social media.
Yeah.
But the Mighty has a zero tolerance policy for negativity. You can get kicked off their network if you're not going to post anything positive. So it's a very healthy environment. I encourage people to check it out. They have all kinds of sub communities for mental illness, as well as other illnesses that if you're struggling with. See that there's a huge endometriosis community on there, all kinds of stuff, cancer support, you name it.
Cool.
And that's it. I don't have socials to plug. I'm only on Facebook and it's hidden. So, but there will be Roll for Recovery socials rolling out, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff coming soon. And I will absolutely be on here to plug that stuff once it's live.
Awesome. Well, speaking about socials, let's roll right into our socials. If you like this stuff, if you like wrestling, if you don't like wrestling and you want to tell us to shut up, cool. Follow us at No Shave Man Cave. Yell and scream at us. Give us some of that negativity that Twitter likes to do. We preserve the positive. I tend to ignore the negative. Replace it with positive thoughts. So if you guys suck, I might end lollipops at the end. I don't know. But, we appreciate everybody. We appreciate Fantasy Sports Corps for letting us host this live on their network. Also, it's very important to us. It's one of the things they saw of ours that intrigued them and got us hooked up with them. Yes, we're very knowledgeable about wrestling. We enjoy talking about wrestling. This is one that's close to our hearts. We appreciate it. So at No Shave Man Cave, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all those fun places. And maybe we'll hook up with the Mighty. Maybe we'll see if we can set something up there. Just I didn't know about them, so I'll look into that. And our podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts from. No Shave Man Cave. Hit a like, subscribe to the Fantasy Sports Corp also. And it's free. It doesn't cost you much. You just hit the subscribe button. Helps us out. Helps the algorithm. Tricks YouTube into thinking we actually know what we're talking about and are good. We appreciate it all. And if you're watching us on our No Shave Man Cave page, same thing. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. And with that, thank you to everybody. I'm going to tag out to the man to do his signature ending.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Our 35,000 plus downloads. Love each and every one of them. Can't get it enough out there. Thank you so much to the Fantasy Sports Corp, to Mission 22 for the great shirts. They aren't the only organization out there helping veterans. So if you feel that you can help, reach out and do so. Until next time, friends, fam, nothing but love. Thank you so much to all of our brothers and sisters in arms. Thank you for your service. Some gave all and all gave some. So until next time, stay safe. Look out for yourselves. Look out for each other. And we'll see you on the floor.